What is up guys, it's Jordan, and in today's video you'll learn how to completely disassemble and reassemble the Tokyo Marui Hi Capa. Alright, let's get this puppy disassembled, shall we? So, first things first, of course, you want to make sure that there is no mag in the mag well. This might sound really stupid, but yeah, some people might forget it. So make sure if there's a mag in the mag well to remove it. Alright, next up, we want to make sure that the slide is off. So we want to push the slide back, push this button in on the right side of the pistol, and then remove the slide catch. There we go. Once we did that, we can just slide the slide off and it'll be in two pieces. So let's start disassembling this slide. Now, you want to pull back this tab at the guide rod spring, pull it back and then push it to one side to remove the guide rod with the spring and this little tab. So there we go. Now make sure you hold it because of course the spring is loaded and it will fly all over your room. So make sure to hold it tightly. Now we can remove the spring from the guide rod and that's fully disassembled now. Alrighty, so let's remove the barrel assembly. This is really easy, just push it forward and then through the front of the slide. And the full assembly will come out with the hop-up, outer barrel, inner barrel. So to remove the inner barrel from the outer barrel, what you want to do is locate the tab where the hop-up is held in and then push it to the side and out. Just like that. Now pull it. It might be a little bit stuck, but there you go. And the outer barrel is loose from the inner barrel. Good, let's move on. So there's this little holding tab with a spring on it, and that's held in to the inner barrel by a little O-ring, a little rubber O-ring. So you're going to remove the O-ring and the spring and make sure that comes off as well. Now guys, please make sure you keep everything organized on your desk because there's going to be a lot of components here, so make sure to keep everything organized. Now let's go to the hop-up. The hop-up is held in with two screws and you just want to unscrew those screws and open up the hop-up. Again guys, make sure you keep these screws because there's also going to be a lot of screws and you don't want to put the wrong screw in the wrong hole. So the hop-up will come apart and that's where you'll see the start of the inner barrel and the bucking. You'll need to remove this hop-up pin and then you can take out the barrel with the bucking. There we go. There's also this little wheel on the hop-up to adjust it, of course. You could take that out. If you don't have to, I wouldn't because, yeah, it's only easier to lose it. Okay, now let's jump to the inner barrel with the bucking. As you can see, there's an upgraded bucking on mine, but yours might be black or another color. So you can just remove that from the inner barrel and there you've got your bucking. So if you need to replace your bucking, you now know how. Alright, let's jump to the blowback housing. For the blowback housing, it's held in with one screw. It's an Allen key and you can just unscrew it. There you go. And then the housing is held in by pressure, so you want to push out the slide and then push it up and it will jump out just like that. Make sure you remove the blowback spring as well, because that thing is really small and I've lost one the last time I was upgrading. So make sure you do that, because yeah, otherwise you'll need to order more. Alright, let's go to the blowback housing. So you want to remove the upper part and then remove the piston head as well. If you want to upgrade that, here's your chance. There you go, there's the piston head. So you could remove the top cap, but there's literally nothing under there, so not really worth it too, in my opinion. Okay, so you can remove the iron sights. It's a bit hard because they're just held in by pressure, but if you push to the side, they will come out just like that. So if you want to use a red dot or anything like that, then there's how you can do that. Alright, the slide's now fully empty and we can move on to the lower of the body. And this is really where the technical part begins. So you want to pay real close attention because there's going to be a lot of parts in this one. So you want to start by removing the grip screws and removing the screw that sits in the body under the slide. So there's your grip screws, and then in the body under the slide there's one more screw, and then the midsection will come loose from the grip. Just like that. Alright, now for the grip disassembly. As you can see, there's your trigger unit. And what you want to do is start by removing the mag release. So you want to push the screw in, twist it to the left, and then it'll just come out just like that. The spring will get held in and you can just take it out. There we go. Now that's your mag release. Of course, you could take out the spring with a little tab, but again, small components, so would not recommend. But if you want to, push it in, twist it to the right, and then you can take it out. Alright, to the grip. Now, what we want to start out with is removing this body pin all the way at the bottom. This will allow us to remove a spring mechanism that's at the bottom. So I'd recommend just getting like a punching thing or a screwdriver or anything like that and just pushing it out. Should be pretty easy, so here you go. There's the pin. Make sure to keep that safe as well. Then you can remove the spring housing, which is the hammer spring. So again, you could take this apart if it's like full of sand or anything like that, but wouldn't recommend if you don't need to. So now let's remove these pins right here. These are for the safety and the hammer. And after that, we should be able to remove the trigger. Just like so. So if you're operating the trigger, here's how you do it. Now the grip's fully empty now, so we can start on disassembling the middle part, which is the most technical part. So make sure to pay real close attention because I've screwed this up multiple times. So make sure to pay real close attention. We want to start out by removing the safety switches, which you can do by pulling the right tab and then pulling the left tab, and they will just come out. Or these are spring loaded, so make sure you pay close attention because the spring will come flying out and you don't want to lose that thing. It's really small again. there's so many small components. Alright, so there's your grip safety as well. This one will come loose when you remove the other safety. So for the body itself, there's one body screw and one body pin holding it together. So if you remove those two, it will fully come loose. Let's do that right now. So again, little hammer and a rod. Just tapping it slightly, it'll come loose just like that. And as you can see, the body now splits apart. There we go. So there's a little spring mechanism in the left side, but we're not going to be paying attention to that for now. First, we want to start off by removing the hammer unit with the hammer rod. And then removing all these little components, which are for the safety and the hammer. And there you go. Now this part's fully empty now. So let's get on to that other side with those little springs and stuff like that. This is probably the most technical part of this whole Hi Capa, but as you can see, this works on spring loaded. So make sure you be careful and not lose any springs, because as you can see, my hands are not that big, but this thing is really small and there's some really small components. Okay, remove this little hammer, this little spring, and then you can unscrew the last little parts. Again, tiny screws, so be careful. Here you go, and this thing will just fall apart. Alright, and now you've fully disassembled the Tokyo Marui Hi Capa. Now let's not waste any time and start reassembling this thing, because we want to get it back onto the airsoft field. Alright, so let's get this puppy back on the airsoft field. Let's reassemble it. Now, simply said, what you want to do is put this video in reverse and just do everything I just did, but in reverse. But I'll show you how to do it. So we're gonna start out by putting this left side of the body back together. We're gonna start out by pushing that spring into place and then pushing this pin on top of it. Like I said, it's going to be spring loaded, so make sure you be careful with the springs. Then this little body part will just slide over it. Just like that. And we want to screw it back in with the tiny screw we just took out. There we go. So as you can see, all assembled, and this little part right here is spring loaded now. So that's good. Next up, we have this sort of hammer shaped part. Yeah, I don't know the names for all these things, guys, so bear with me, okay? Now, this hammer shaped part and then this round spring. We want to hook it under that part, just like so. Yes, and then push it over the little rod sticking out. And then we want to push the other side of the spring behind this little tab. So put your thumb on it and push it over. There we go. So now the whole thing's spring loaded. And as you can see, it's going to jump back out. Alrighty, so let's get to the other side of the body. So we're going to start with this hook-shaped pin and put it in there, just like so. And then the other little pin, twisty thing bit, I don't even know what it is, but we want to push that into the hole right there, and it should fit together nicely. Now for the hammer assembly, the hammer rod with the hammer itself, push it over that rod right there. Make sure it locks into the other pin we just pushed in. Now this body part can go over it, and we can screw it back in and put the rod back in. So this might take a little bit of fiddling to make sure everything fits together nicely. The hammer is also of course loose because the hammer spring is not on there. So we need to make sure it fits together. Alright, now we can push the grip safety back in and then screw the body back together. So now here's your little safety spring assembly. There's 3 components, 2 little rods and a spring. You want to push the small rod in first with the little thing sticking out, and then the spring, and then the long rod the other way round. Now for the body screw, just screw it back in, there we go, and push the body pin back in, of course. Then you want to push the left side of the safety in first, and make sure that spring is pushed back, so use that little rod you used for the pins or something like that, and just push it in there. Now it might take some tries, but try not to lose the spring by it springing out. Push it in and boom, there you go. It'll be spring loaded. This just makes sure the safety stays up once it's pushed up, and it stays down once it's pushed down, of course. Now the other side, that will just slot right in if you line it up with the other side of the safety, and there we go. So as you can see, all these little components are working together to make the safeties work and to make the hammer work. So this is a really delicate process, and you want to make sure everything is put together nicely, because otherwise you might have some problems. But we're all good now, so let's go to the grip. Let's start by pushing the trigger unit back in. This thing will only go in one way, so make sure you push it in the right way. And then push these pins back in. It has a little slot on the grip, so you really can't screw this up. Just click it into place, there we go. Just like that. And now we want to start by pushing the hammer spring unit back in. So slide it back over the pins and into the grip, and then just hammer in the pin. There we go. So now let's put the mag release back in. You want to make sure that the spring is pushed in, of course, so push it in, twist it to the left side. There we go. Then push it into the grip, just like so, and pull the spring back out to make sure it's stuck in there, just like that. Now as you can see, the mag release is working again. Good. So now comes the hard part, getting that middle body back onto the grip. Now what you want to do is make sure that the hammer rod lines up with the spring assembly, just like so. And then you want to make sure that you can push it in while pushing in the grip safety, and also make sure that all the pins are lining up on the bottom right there. So as you can see, the right pin needs to go behind that other one, and then you can push in the grip safety. Now this is going to be spring loaded, so you want to make sure that you hold it on tight, push in the grip safety, and hold on very tightly, just like so. Now you can screw in the body pins, so make sure you get the right Allen key ready before you push this on. And there we go. Put back the body screw, and this is it. Now, as for the slide reassembly, you want to start out by pushing in the iron sights or red dot or anything you have for it. This is going to take some pressure, but it'll be just fine. There we go. That's in, and of course that's really held in by the blowback housing, so you want to make sure we push that in right as well. Push on the piston head and push back in the nozzle. This might have dried up by now, so make sure to lube it good if it's not lubed again. Then push on the blowback spring, and you want to make sure that you load the blowback housing in from the bottom, because otherwise the blowback spring will just jump out. So do that and then push it. There we go. So make sure the blowback spring is in right, and now you can screw back in the blowback bolt or screw, and that's it. Your blowback housing is back in. Now, barrel assembly, you want to make sure the bucking is lined up with the inner barrel. There's a little tab on there which will make you line it up, and then line it up with the hop-up unit, of course. Now you want to make sure that this hop-up pin sits inside the little gear so you can adjust it, and also that it sits nicely on top of the bucking at the opening of the inner barrel. Then you want to just screw back on the top of the hop-up unit, and your hop-up unit is back assembled. There you go. Now make sure you can push in that little tab, and that you can twist the gear, and that the hop-up is changing. As you can see, it's making slight adjustments, and that's good. So now let's reassemble the rest of it. So put this little tab on. There's only one way it goes on. This will make sure it sits nicely inside of the outer barrel. Push back on the spring, and then push the O-ring back. There you go. So now push it back into the outer barrel. Twist it a little bit and make sure it sits behind the tab on the outer barrel. That's it. Now push it back into the slide. Make sure it sits nice and snug against the blowback housing. And then assemble the guide rod with the guide spring and the little tab that holds it in. This will again only go in one way. Now hold it and try to push it in through one side of the hop-up unit. Make sure the barrel stays back all the way. And there we go. Now twist the little guide tab and click it in. There we go. Alright, we're almost done. We are almost done. Now slide the slide back onto the body. Make sure the pins are down. Slide it back. Push back the body pin slash slide catch. Line it up with the hole. Push it in. And there you go. Fully reassembled Hi Capa. Alright guys, that's it. That's the end of the video. Now you know how to fully disassemble and assemble the Tokyo Marui Hi Capa. If you guys learned something from this video, then make sure to leave a like, subscribe down below, and check this next video on screen because you'll definitely like this one. Alright, thank you guys for watching, and I'll see you guys in the next one. Peace!